Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today I've got the good fortune to be joined by Jeff Martinovich. Jeff has an incredible resume, served our wonderful country during the first Gulf War at Tactical Air Command Headquarters, had a second career in financial services. Then following the 2008 financial crisis, his multi-billion-dollar wealth management firm, hedge funds, had some issues we're going to talk about, which led to a very interesting journey in his book, When Not If, a CEO's Guide to Overcoming Adversity, that came out last year. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Seth. Appreciate the opportunity.
Our pleasure. So first of all, thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.
Now let's go back in time. First of all, after you got out of the Air Force, why a second career in financial services?
Well, true story. When I was 16, I had a lawn mowing business and a snow shovel business in Dayton, Ohio. Lots of snow in Dayton, Ohio there. Not as much as Buffalo, where you are. And I asked my dad, I had saved up some money, and I asked him if I could buy my first stock. And I put $250 into Cedar Fair, which owns Cedar Point Amusement Parks up there. It basically doubled. I sold it and bought my first car at age 16, a 1975 Firebird falling apart for $500, and I was hooked. And from that point on, I knew that was going to be the industry I work in.
Awesome. Love that story. Now, McG, or MIG, Investment Management, you grew a multi-billion-dollar wealth management fund recognized nationwide for its rapid growth. What were some of the principles behind your incredible success?
Well, I had a lot of great mentors. And, by working 20 hours a day, you get a little lucky. But I really did hire some great people that surrounded me, covered all my things I didn't know. And it was really just about having an A-player culture. And it was about doing the right thing. You hear all these bad things, Wolf of Wall Street and things out there about the finance. I always thought it was the greatest business in America. The more people you helped and the better you helped them, the more it profited you. It was just the greatest business to do. And that was when fee-based investing came out instead of commissions. It lined everybody on the same side of the table. And so it just, we hired one by one and we built it brick by brick. And 16 years later, we're over $1 billion, 100 people, 3,000 clients, 48 states. It was just a great success story.
And we could do a whole separate podcast just on the lessons learned from how you grew that firm. But I know that's not what we're going to talk about today. So you had one heck of a bizarre experience
That's
with
a good word.
With our Justice Department. How the heck did that happen?
Well, back in 2008, when the whole world imploded, and then everybody on Wall Street traded billions of dollars back and forth between the government and all those firms. A lot of people don't know they went around and shut down about 2,000 what I call tier 2 firms. We were too big to not be on the radar screen, but too small to write a $150 million check to make the regulators go away. And so they accuse you of all kinds of different things. They said we mispriced a solar company stock in one of our funds that was 0.2% of our assets. It wasn't even on our radar screen. And, I just had this kind of duty honor country moment. I don't necessarily recommend it for everyone else. But, I believe we have these existential moments in life. And so I wasn't going to lie. And I wasn't going to say that my people made him, intentionally did anything wrong. So I'm the only crazy human probably in the United States. There's not too many more who refused 3 plea offers from the federal government for basically at the end, right before trial, a slap on the wrist. And I demanded to go to trial against the United States federal government, knowing it has a 98.5% conviction rate.
I think that you probably got some comments about the odds of that, and that you, to use your word, were crazy for doing that.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you did that on a matter of principle.
I did. My son was going off to college at the time, so I kind of felt like I had done my good job there. Um, and we're very principled kind of household. My father is an amazing story. And I didn't want to like teach him all these things his whole life. I came from the Air Force Academy and the Honor Code. Um, and then during my most difficult moment in my life, I didn't want to fold and do things that weren't principled. So I sat everybody down and I said, this is what I'm going to do. And great odds are it doesn't work out. And I even counsel other people who like read my story and want to stand up for what's right. If you have small children, you just can't do that because you won't see them grow up. And I counsel a lot of them to do that. But yes, that was a stand I made. It's not for everybody, but and I paid the price.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I believe that, spoiler alert, you're here. You win in the
I am
end.
still alive.
You are still alive and you are free. However, you weren't for a period of time.
Yes. So we did a 5-week trial. I thought, being the very naive person I was, not so much now, I would explain hedge fund accounting to a jury of very honorable shipyard workers, nurses, and a Baptist minister. The government was so much smarter than me. They spent 5 weeks in these screens they put in the federal courtrooms showing pictures of my automobiles and my beach houses and my homes every day on those screens. And basically at the end, I was toast. So I got sentenced to 14 years in federal prison in a very violent Fort Dix, New Jersey. It was 4,000 gang members and a hedge fund manager. So it was quite crazy, but yes, that's what happened from me standing up to that.
And I'm sure we could do a whole separate podcast on what life in prison, federal prison, as the lone, formerly affluent white guy was like.
That's right.
But you didn't
Yes.
dig your way out with a spoon.
I didn't. I took a job. I played basketball at the Air Force Academy back. That just shows you I'm 100 years old when short guys like me played Division I basketball. But I took a position on the basketball team to make friends with all of them. I played center field for the softball team to make friends for the whole contingent there. And then I took a job at 16 cents an hour in the prison law library. And, of course, they take your $1 billion, so you have no lawyers left. But that's actually a good thing, I've learned over time. And I just started helping as many people as possible. I ended up filing motions. I had no idea what I was doing at the beginning, but I ended up filing motions in over 300 cases for other inmates, 99% failures, but a couple lucky breaks for them. And the way this crazy universe works is by helping them, I basically kind of learned federal criminal law, and it gave me the keys for myself. And I ended up filing over 500 motions, literally in my own case, with a number 2 pencil and a manual typewriter. And by an incredible gifts from the universe, and uh, I ended up reversing the trial court decisions 5 times, removing 2 federal judges, and I made it home 7 years early. The terrible part is it took me 7 years to do that, but I'm incredibly thankful because it's been miracle after miracle once I got home.
Well, that is absolutely incredible. And we could certainly spend hours, if not days, on all of the lessons in that journey. But what inspired you to write the book, When Not If?
Well, so many people were reaching out to me to tell the crazy story because there's so many crazy stories. But I also had like about 40 lessons of what I should have done before. I was so naive, what I should have protected us better. I have such guilt and really shame that I should have done all these things better to take care of my family, take care of our employees, our shareholders. And then also when the black swan shows up in your office reception area, I should have handled 20 other things differently there. So Forbes Books had reached out to me, and we found a middle of the road to be able to tell this wild tale, and it does have some unbelievable stories, but also encapsulate like 40 lessons that I hope all the readers, when I give speeches around the country, I can get 10 of those lessons in. But I just want to help other people, number one, open their eyes, because certainly mine were not. And then secondly, know when they knock on your front door, I mean, there's like no chance in the world that they're not going to find 100 things that they want to do to you. So I want to help other people be way better prepared and way better resilient during those times.
And that's a beautiful silver lining. You titled it When Not If. Why?
Well, there's another book
Hopefully
out
we're not all
there.
getting indicted, right?
Yeah, there's another book out there. Gosh, I forget the author. 3 Felonies a Day. Dershowitz wrote the foreword, and it just talks about there's so much insane regulation and bureaucracy and technocrats and government that every human at least violates 3 felonies a day by the time they go to work and come back home. And so, if your company gets targeted, there's just no way they're not going to have a whole long list of items. So we just need to be stronger, smarter, better prepared than I was to make sure. So when I give a speech, I see these guys' eyeballs like this. Oh my God. And they're thinking, I got to call my attorney, my accountants, everybody on Monday to take care of all these things. So I just want to help other people be better prepared.
Talk a little bit, and thank you for that. I can't wait to get our hands on it and read it. We might have to have you back after that. So tell me a little bit about what your life looks like now.
Oh my gosh. Um, Somebody just emailed me this morning and said, how did you get such a gorgeous looking wife like that? And my answer has always been for the last 5 years, there are so many things that happen in the universe that I just cannot explain. Uh, Ashley sent me a love letter a year, course, divorce and everything, and implosion happens during all these terrible nuclear meltdowns. Ashley sent me a love letter after I'd been in prison for a year and a half. And she had worked in one of our firms. And she said, my friends told me I'll never be happy if I don't send you a letter that I love you. And I had no idea about anything. And she said, I believe in you and I'm going to stay by your side and we're going to win. And for 7 years, she drove 7 hours each way to visit with me for a couple hours once a month in a horrific prison visiting room, which the stories just will curl your toes. And then she was there the day I finally got out. Remember in Blues Brothers when Elliot comes to pick up Jake at
Yes.
the Joliet prison. It was just like that. And she picked me up. Quick story, we're 3 minutes away. And I remembered that I left my coffee mug on the curb. And I said, oh my God, you got to go back and get my coffee mug. At that point in my life, literally, it was the only possession I had in my life. And she screamed at me like, are you insane? And I said, clearly I am. And she turned around and I got my coffee mug. But that was the start of just this unbelievable Cinderella story. And we came home and all my friends came out of the woodwork, and a friend flew out the second day, like, oh my God, you got to help me with all these companies and everything's so fast. And it has been just insane progress from that point forward. But I will say the most amazing story is I have a 32-year-old son who now has survived that with us and works with me every day. But also on New Year's Eve, Ashley said, you're not going to believe this, old man, but I am pregnant. And so now at age 59, we also have beautiful little Carly, who's 4 years old and is just a miracle baby.
Well, congratulations on
Thank you.
the marriage, the baby, the freedom, the triumph, all of it. There's probably 1,000 times you could have given up. What kept you going?
You know, I was running around the track one night at Fort Dix prison. And yes, the give up, the end the ordeal, rockets through your mind over and over. And during 2008, I had multiple friends who ended their journey because of all this terribleness. And I finally made a deal with God. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to think about that anymore. I'm going to get up early and I'm going to crush it. And my whole kind of prison life was every day I hit the gym or the track, because you got to be just crazy physical strong, not to just survive, but also the endorphins and the reality of that. I also made a commitment to be intellectually developed every day. Of course, I had to learn federal criminal law, but I also read 26 classics, because when you come from the schools of engineering and finance, I was woefully inept in all that world. And then I also made a commitment to every day speak to the universe, whether, that's different for all of us. And for me, I did a lot of meditation. I read the Bible like 5 different times. And I think if you do those 3 things every day, you can make it, because it's not a sprint. A lot of people, 9 out of 10 people can survive trauma, drama, horrific times, when it's short. But the big existential items, they're a marathon. And you got to get up every day, get off that metal bunk, or otherwise you'll curl up in a ball and be there for 14 years.
Wow. Well, congratulations. What an inspiration. For our folks who are watching or listening, where can they go to get the book, and where can they go to learn more about you?
Thank you so much. On Amazon, When Not If, and Audible, and all those things. And I guess the easiest is the website, jeffmartinovich.com, kind of has everything on.
All right. Well, this has been Seth Greene with Jeff Martinovich. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us.
Seth, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.